Most people think regret comes from making the wrong choice, but more often, it comes from making a decision when a part of you was screaming no, and you ignored it. Think about it. That career you took for the money, even though your gut felt a cold dread. That relationship you stayed in, listing the logical pros while your heart felt heavy and hollow. That impulsive purchase that made perfect sense for a fleeting moment, but left you with a lingering sense of unease. Have you ever made a choice you thought was right, only to feel empty or anxious afterward? That feeling isn't a sign you failed. It's a sign that you were divided. The biggest regrets of our lives aren't born from bad decisions. They're born from divided ones. And today, we're going to close that division for good. I'll show you the 2 internal forces you must sink before every major choice, and I'll give you 3 grounded ways to do it, so you can avoid that sinking feeling of regret forever. At the heart of every person, there's a quiet civil war being fought. It's the constant, subtle fracture between your head and your heart. Your head is the strategist. It operates on logic, data, pros and cons lists, and what society deems sensible. It wants to minimize risk, maximize gain, and build a life that looks good on paper. It's the voice that tells you to take the stable job, to stay in the comfortable but loveless relationship, to save for a future you can't yet feel. Then there's your heart. Or you can call it your gut, your intuition, your emotional core. This part doesn't speak in spreadsheets, it speaks in feelings. A sense of expansion or contraction, a feeling of peace or a knot of anxiety, a quiet hum of yes or a loud clanging no. It's not irrational, it's just pre-verbal. It processes millions of data points your conscious mind can't even register and delivers a verdict in the form of a feeling. Here is the problem, the source of so much pain and emotional burnout. We're taught to champion one over the other. Rely only on your logic, and you build a life that's perfectly structured but emotionally sterile. You achieve goals that bring no joy. You wake up one day surrounded by success and feel a profound emptiness, a deep self-doubt, wondering, is this all there is? That's the regret of a life lived entirely by the mind. On the other hand, rely only on emotion, and you risk a life of chaos. You chase fleeting passions, make impulsive choices based on momentary highs, and find yourself in a constant state of confusion, reacting to the world instead of creating your path within it. That's the regret of a life lived without grounding. Regret lives in the gap between these two. It festers in the space where you forced your logic to override a deep gut feeling, or where you let a wave of emotion wash away all common sense. Even the smartest, most disciplined people suffer from this internal misalignment silently. They experience chronic analysis paralysis, not because they lack information, but because the information they have conflicts with the feeling they can't shake. This isn't just a minor inconvenience, it's the root of decision fatigue, and the reason we often make our worst choices when we're tired and worn down. The cost of ignoring this internal conflict is catastrophic, and it shows up in ways we rarely connect back to the source. We blame procrastination on laziness, but often, procrastination is your body's wisdom hitting the emergency brake. It's your intuition screaming that the path your logical mind has chosen is fundamentally wrong for you. That project you keep putting off, that difficult conversation you avoid. Your mind has a plan, but your body senses a danger or a misalignment that your logic has dismissed. Your body is an intelligence system. It's a finely tuned instrument that gives you constant feedback. That tightness in your chest when you think about your job isn't just stress, it's data. That feeling of calm that settles over you when you're with a certain person isn't just a mood, it's data. The pressure behind your eyes when you're forcing yourself to finish a task you hate, or the sense of expansive stillness when you're doing something you love. This is all crucial information. When we ignore these signals, we get decision fatigue. We exhaust our mental and emotional resources trying to push a boulder uphill, forcing ourselves to do things that are out of alignment. This leads to burnout and eventually impulsive, reactive choices made just to relieve the pressure. Think of Sarah, a brilliant lawyer who had a job offer that was perfect on paper. Top firm, huge salary, clear path to partner. Her mind was ecstatic. The pros and cons list was a landslide victory. But every time she thought about accepting, a cold, heavy knot formed in her stomach. She felt a deep sense of dread. She told herself it was just nerves, pre-success anxiety. She ignored the signal, signed the contract, and 2 years later, she was a shell of her former self, suffering from severe emotional burnout and regretting her choice every single day. The job that looked like a dream on paper had become her personal prison. Her body knew. It tried to warn her, but her mind wouldn't listen. This isn't just about personal choices. This is a core component of effective leadership. Leaders who are disconnected from their own internal signals make poor, reactive choices for their teams and organizations. They push forward on projects that look good, but are doomed to fail because the underlying energy is wrong. They ignore the subtle human dynamics at play. True problem-solving requires access to both logic and intuition. Ignoring one is like trying to navigate with only half a map. To close this gap and start making decisions that lead to fulfillment instead of regret, we need to make 3 profound internal shifts in our mindset. These aren't just tricks. They are a fundamental reorientation of how you relate to yourself. The first shift is moving from seeking certainty through control to sensing it through coherence. The logical mind believes that if it can just gather enough information, analyze every variable, and control every outcome, it can guarantee a good decision. But this is an illusion. You can never have all the data. This pursuit of control is what leads to analysis paralysis. The shift is to stop looking for certainty outside of yourself and start listening for it inside. Coherence is the feeling of inner harmony, when your mind, your heart, and your body are all in quiet agreement. It's a feeling of peace, of rightness, that no spreadsheet can ever give you. The second shift is from trusting only thought or only feeling to requiring internal agreement. For generations, we've been told to pick a side between head and heart. Follow your heart, some say. Be rational, others insist. Both are incomplete. True power comes when you stop seeing them as adversaries and treat them as 2 essential advisors on your personal board. A decision is ready only when both give a clear yes. If one says yes and the other no, the answer isn't yes or no, it's not yet. The third, perhaps most important shift, is from judging indecision as weakness to seeing it as a signal of unresolved conflict. Indecision is not a flaw, it's a diagnostic tool. It tells you, warning, internal misalignment detected. When you feel indecisive, don't force a choice. Get curious. What conflict is my indecision revealing? Your body senses truths your mind can't yet articulate. Ignoring it is muting the part of you that never lies. Remember, regret lives in the gap. Close it before you decide. How do we apply this in fast-paced lives? Start syncing head and heart with 3 practical steps. First, pause before acting, especially when rushed. Urgency is often your mind overriding your heart. Feeling pressured, whether with a job offer, big purchase, or relationship, is a sign of internal division. Stop, breathe, create space. Say, I need 24 hours to think. Let the mind settle and the intuition speak. Second, journal both voices. Draw a line down a page. On one side, my mind says, list pros, cons, fears, expectations, shoulds. On the other, my heart, gut says, tune into feelings, sensations, images, heavy or light, expansive or constricted, calm or anxious. Conflicts become clear, turning internal chaos into data you can work with. Third, wait for coherence. Move forward only when both centers give a quiet, clear yes. This may not feel like excitement, but peace, a lack of resistance. Considering a career, your mind may understand benefits, but wait for calm alignment. In a relationship, emotional excitement isn't enough. Your logic must also say, yes, this aligns with my values and future. Don't settle for a divided vote. Try this today with a small decision. What does your mind say? What does your heart say? Share the conflict you discover. The path to a life with less regret isn't about perfect choices, it's about whole ones. True certainty doesn't come from guarantees. It happens when brain and heart agree. It's a partnership, a synergy, the end of the internal civil war. So here's the question. When was the last time your head and heart were truly aligned and you listened? Remember that clarity and peace. That's the feeling to aim for in every important decision. Don't let logic bully intuition or emotions hijack reason. Pause, listen, and wait for them to speak with one voice. That is how you build a life you'll look back on with lasting peace, not regret.